It's a blowout. 8th inning, 10-3. Bases are loaded for Verlander, who waits on a 3-0 pitch. He swings, and it's a high fly ball. Deep center field. It is gone. Home run. And a huge bat flip to celebrate. All right, Ben, start the show already.
What is up, everybody? Welcome into another episode of Flippin Bats, and we have a great one. You know him, you love him, you see all of his stuff on Twitter. He is the pitching ninja. Rob Friedman is about to join me here in a minute. We have a lot of fun stuff to talk about, basically how he got into this business, which is a really cool story, but we're also going to put together the ultimate pitching repertoire. The best pitch from the best pitchers in the league, and we're going to do that for current pitchers and all time as well, but the ultimate repertoire. I'm really looking forward to seeing his answers there, but this is going to be an absolute blast. We're both trying to grow the game of baseball, and he certainly does that just as good as anybody else. So let's have a great conversation. Let's get to him now. Here he is, Rob Friedman, aka Pitching Ninja. Rob, what is up, my friend? Thank you so much for joining me.
Dude, it's my pleasure. You're awesome.
No, at the end of the day, the goal is just to build the game of baseball. And I feel like we can both go to sleep at night knowing we've at least done our best to try and grow the game of baseball. At least I know I can say the same for you, because you really are, my friend. I believe that, and it's been awesome to see.
Yeah, no, it's great. Like that has always been my goal, is to grow the game. And I think you do it the right way too. It's like, stay positive. There's no reason to be negative. It's a sport. It's fun. Like, present the good stuff.
It's absolutely. I totally agree. So let's start with this. Where did Pitching Ninja come from? How did that come to be?
So it's kind of a long story. And it was never intended to be like a thing like that. I never had a master plan. So I was just coaching baseball, like, I don't know, like youth baseball. And it was mostly because everybody thought I communicated really well with kids, because I'm basically a big kid. And it wasn't like I was a great baseball player growing up or anything like that. Like I am no Ben Verlander. But it was like,
thank you for using the correct Verlander brother there.
Yeah, exactly. So, I just started teaching stuff. And one of the good things about not being a great player, I always played growing up, and I thought I was good. I just wasn't. But when you're trying to teach the game, it makes you kind of learn it over, and like what you wish you would have been taught. And it happened to come up at a time where maybe there was just more advances in technology breaking down stuff. So I was able to start like everything over and throw everything out. So I started coaching. And then as a coach, I was coaching my kids' travel team, and somebody had said, called him a ninja. And I was like, wait a second. Like, he didn't like it, for one. He's half Japanese, or quarter Japanese. My wife's half Japanese.
Okay.
And so he was like, I don't like that name. I'm like, well, I'll take it, because I'm the coach and I'm the freaking ninja. So that's the way it went down. And the rest is kind of history with that name.
That's funny. So if you were to go back now and play with all the knowledge that you have, obviously it'd go better. But where would you be a professional baseball player if you had all the knowledge you do now?
No, I mean, I don't think knowledge only gets you so far. It'll make you, I would be better than I was. But no. I mean, I don't think I'm physically skilled enough. Like, you have to have the elite athleticism and the knowledge to go along.
Sure.
But I did help my kid. He got a scholarship to Georgia Tech, which is pretty
awesome,
good. Like,
man. That's so cool. Where is he now? Is he there, or is he still in high school? What's his?
He just graduated.
Awesome. That's so cool. So how did you transition from coming up with the idea, I'll take ninja, to, I guess, sort of what you do now? And there's a lot in between, but to the presence you have on social media, where you highlight pitches and you do the overlays, how did we get to that? And how did you ultimately come up with that idea?
It was just iterations. Like, I definitely did not expect to blow up on social media. I'm still not sure what that even means. but like
It
I
looks
started
good.
out.
It sounds good. As long as you don't put the quotes, it looks like you know what you're doing.
Yeah, exactly. Like I still don't know. I don't have a master plan on any of it. So what I did is I started sharing stuff, and like I said, I was coaching, and I knew I wasn't going to coach forever. So I started sharing all the stuff I was learning, and I happened to learn from some really good folks, or be around some really good folks. Like back in the day, I was on message boards with folks like Kyle Bodie of Driveline. Yeah, Eric Cressy was
Oh
on there.
yeah.
Alan Jacob was on there. Yeah, so all those guys, we would just bounce ideas off each other, and it was before like even the whole Twitter things took off. So, I asked a lot of questions, poked holes and stuff because I'm a lawyer too. So I hate to admit this in front of this big audience. I'm a lawyer, and it was like one of those things. I asked a lot of questions, so I
Do you
broke
still
everything down and
practice?
learned. I mean, I can technically practice. I have a
Okay.
law degree.
Look, you may not be in the business of boosting yourself up, but we'll have a deal with each other from this point forward is we'll boost each other up since we don't want to talk about ourselves. So the fact that you still have the degree and still practice is freaking awesome, dude. So just had to get that out there.
Thanks. Like, I don't feel it's awesome. I think, being a lawyer, not as much fun as being a ninja. And that's what I ended up deciding. But like, I just kept sharing stuff and people liked it. And then like pro guys were taking a look at it going, wow, this is kind of interesting. And it just grew organically. Like it was never, ever, it's still like, again, I wake up every day and don't know what I'm going to do. So
do you remember the first thing that you had, or one of the first few that really clicked and took off, the first thing that blew up and went viral and millions of people saw it?
Oh, I am not exactly. I think probably the biggest early one was maybe an overlay of Charlie Morton's Curveball and two seamer, and just how they worked together and diverged, and that got picked up kind of everywhere. But it was just it just like grew on itself. Like it wasn't like one thing and all of a sudden it went crazy. It was more a lot of work every day, but fun work. Like it was just sharing stuff every day. And then eventually, hey, it went from 10 likes to 100 likes to, hey, this one got 1,000. What did I do there? But like, I don't know. Like there wasn't really one thing that just jumped up. I still get amazed every day. Like if I have something that takes off, it still excites me. It's fun.
So ultimately Major League Baseball hired you, correct?
They did as a consultant. So
Okay.
basically, I don't know if you know the whole drama behind that.
I don't fully, but I would love to hear it.
Yeah. So my account got banned back in maybe it was 2018, something like
Your
that.
Twitter account?
Yeah, because like MLB, it's a long backstory, but so they ended up contacting Twitter, issued a takedown notice. Twitter did what they should do, which is, hey, there's this copyright notice. We gotta take the content down. It ended up, once my account came down, there's a ton of MLB guys, fans, front office guys, all were like, what are you doing? Like, why are you shutting this account down? Yeah. And it ended up that MLB actually liked what I was doing and just wanted to be kind of more official and made me a contractor, which was cool.
That's really cool. So did that happen immediately? Like your Twitter account comes back up and you got hired like right around the same time?
It took a week, and I was down for a week with everybody like, messaging and texting and stuff going, oh my God, Pitching Ninja's still down. Every time MLB put out a video, I swear, like MLB would put out a video and they're like, this isn't as good as what Pitching Ninja does. And it just got so probably annoying for them. But I think they really did, like, this was right when they were figuring out that fans could actually help grow the game, and that we all have a part in growing the game, not keeping the content close, but actually letting folks that are good at it help out.
Yeah.
And I think it was like I don't know. I mean, I think it was a big inflection point for MLB to make that decision, because they'd never done that before. So that part was really cool. Like, I feel like I'm a revolutionary.
Yeah. I mean, look at it seriously though. Look at the way social media is now growing the game. When something cool happens, there's millions of views on it because fans of the game of baseball, including myself, yourself, we're posting about it, getting it out there, and it's just reaching a million different parties. So it is cool in hindsight. You kind of were the first of like, hey, from Major League Baseball's perspective, this can help grow the game of baseball. And now look at it. And if you're on Twitter now during games, it is truly an incredible place to be. And if you can't really avoid cool baseball highlights anymore these days.
Isn't that awesome? Like, I think it's brought in a lot of fans, and I think MLB didn't know which way it was going to go. They thought maybe some people weren't going to watch the game because they were going to get it all on Twitter. And that's never what any of us is about. It's all about sharing cool highlights. So more people will go, oh, I didn't know this game was on. Or maybe you learned about a player that was really cool because you saw highlights and you started being a fan of that player. It was something that I don't think they really knew which way it was going to go, which made them cautious. And I get it.
Yeah.
But it ended up working out really well. And they understand, I think, that they need kind of everybody. Everybody's got their own angles and their own fan base. Content creators do. And if we keep doing cool things just out of the love of the game, it shows through, and I think it brings in more fans.
That's awesome. So you've gotten to do, just from my perspective, things that I've seen, you've gotten to do some really cool things since, 2018 when you started officially working for them, and throughout your career throughout this career as you've grown, you've gotten to do some really cool things. I've seen you on baseball broadcasts, on national TV. I've seen you on plenty of things. What is one thing or a couple things from the beginning since this started that jumps out to you as one of the coolest things that you've been able to do in this venture of life, other than come on Flippin Bats with Ben Verlander?
Well, so that's number one. Number two is seeing, one of the cool things, and this is legit cool. Twitter invited me to their suite with a number of other tweeters to watch the World Series. And it happened to be a guy named Justin pitching. Justin Verlander was pitching that game. Yeah. And I think it was a game where he threw the ball into his leg or something.
That made for a good GIF as well.
Yeah, exactly. But it was seriously, that was a really cool thing. Honestly, every time, like being on MLB and MLB Network, or being on ESPN, or doing just kind of anything, it's nothing I ever planned to do. So everything is really cool for me. Going to the All-Star game was really fun last year. It's just like kind of all of that. Like I still love when people pay attention to anything I do.
So you have to, I feel like you have to pinch yourself sometimes. You've been invited to watch, to go to the World Series. You've been invited to the All-Star game. You're on national TV talking about pitching. Are there times where you're able to step back and think, this is really cool, and I'm really proud of myself for this? Because you should.
I think, like at the All-Star game, it was kind of sick when I think it was Max Scherzer came up to me. It's like, I love your stuff. And I'm like, I didn't know you know who I am. Like, he is legitimately the most tweeted pitcher from my account, like over the history. I think someone did that stat. And I thought that was really sick. Like, or Clayton Kershaw saying, oh, I saw this on Pitching Ninja on an ESPN Sunday night broadcast. Like, stuff like that still amazes me. Like, I don't know. I know who I am, and I know, like, I can wake up any day and just do whatever I want and tweet stuff. So it's all just amazing to me.
That's so cool.
It seriously is.
So those are cool stories. And I have a few of my own, a few favorites that I have from
well, let's hearing
people talk about you. So at the end of this, I want you to tell me which of these you kind of hold near and dear to you and think, man, that is so cool. More than that. So the first of which comes to mind is Cole Irvin learning his cutter from watching your interview with Corbin Burns, which is really cool. Another one, Yu Darvish credited you with helping improve his slider. These are massive names. Jake Diekman credited with helping develop his slider. Devin Williams won the Rookie of the Year, and a lot of people have credited you for him winning that award, for giving him so much attention. Those are a few that jump out to me. When you hear those things, what do you think, and what is one of your favorite stories?
So, yeah, that's all ridiculous to me, because again, I'm a reformed lawyer who is a baseball coach as a hobby, and doing all this started out totally as a hobby. So all of that stuff was amazing. The Yu Darvish thing was incredible, because I was sitting at dinner with my wife and got a DM from him like, hey, can you help me with this? And I'm like, Yes. So can you hold on, honey? I gotta go because like I'm not gonna let you. I mean, Yu Darvish is one of my favorite pitchers. I will help him with anything. And the fact that I could help somebody still is amazing to me. Like I think all of those stories are ridiculous. I do the whole airbender thing, like some of these nicknames that catch on. I it's like stuff I think of in my sleep. I wake up in the middle of the night, these things come in my head and I run with it the next day. And if people like it, that's awesome. But it's still like it's still crazy. Yeah, right. Yeah, like sometimes I forget it and then I remember it later on. But yeah, it's nuts. I mean, I'd love to think so. This year I'm on a Spencer Strider kick. We need to get him to be Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, I mean, his stuff is certainly there. I mean, the dude is electric,
and he's got a great stash too.
So true. So branching off of what we just talked about, this comes to mind when a guy like you, Darvish, one of the best pitchers in the world with some of the nastiest stuff in the world, comes to you and a Jake Diekman credits you with helping develop his pitch. I get it from Cole Irvin's perspective. He said he listened to one of the best in the world talk about it and he went from there. But when these other pitchers are coming to you specifically saying, hey, can you help me with this? What are they looking for? Is it analytics? Is it overlays? What do they come to you, a high school coach that glorifies them? What do they come to you looking for?
A lot of it is just like close-ups of how the ball's coming off folks' hands. I think what they don't want to do, and this is kind of universally, it's a trend in baseball, is that sometimes when you go to your own coaches, you're being judged like, hey, don't worry about this. You don't really need a pitch that does this. You need this. And they don't want that. They want to take control over their career. So I'm independent. Like I will always help.
Yeah.
But I'm also never going to judge them saying, why do you want to learn another pitch? You have 12. So like my thing is if somebody asks, I'm going to help them and I'm going to tell them, like, sometimes they'll send me videos of their pitches and say, well, what do you think? Can you overlay this for me? How did this work together? You know, give me an objective view.
That's so cool.
And yeah, like that's kind of what I'm about. I mean, I have so much fun in this game and it's given me the opportunity to kind of pay it forward to like my overarching thing is to bring more people into the game because I don't think baseball should be a rich kid sport. I think more people should have access to training, techniques, pitch grips, recruiting, everything, because it's just necessary for the sport to grow. So make it fun and make it accessible. And that's really what I'm about.
I love that. So I want to do a couple of fun things. And first, let's start with this season, because I know your thing that you do is, well, you have a lot of things, but one of them that I always see and always watch is like the top filthiest pitches. So this is going to be a harder question because it's kind of encompassing a whole season to this point, and we're over a third of the way in. But if I ask you top 5 filthiest pitches of the season, where does your mind go there?
You know, that is a tough question because to me, all the pitches are filthy. Like
all pitches are created equal.
All pitches are created equal. Some are more equal than others, I guess, in an Animal Farm reference. Like one that jumps out at me, if you ask me one pitch, there was a front door two-seamer from Alex Lang, who had a really wicked pitch that I was shocked at how much it moved. There's like 98-mile-an-hour front door two-seamer. There was a Miguel Castro 99-mile-an-hour two-seamer that ran 25 inches. That was crazy. Yeah. Scott Efros had a couple. The one that hit Alfaro, that was anywhere from like, he had 3, I think. They were like 26, 28, and 30 inches of run. Like
30 inches of run.
30
Think about that.
Run.
The plate is 17 inches. We're talking about 30 inches of run. That's why I'm sitting right here right now.
Like I don't think fans fully get how nasty that is. You're thinking about almost 2 home plates worth of movement, and that thing's bearing in at you, and a major league hitter's getting hit by it. So that's crazy. Jimmy Herget, the human glitch. That's another nickname. Like I came up in the middle of the night. So the human glitch.
You came up with that. I hear it everywhere now.
I did. I came up with that one too.
I could have. No, I didn't come up with that name, but I could have called that when I faced him more times than I would have cared to admit in the Florida State League. And nobody knew the name. He comes up and he's doing all of this stuff. Not only is he nasty on the mound, but his timing stuff he does, throwing you off rhythm, that sort of stuff. It just adds a whole new element to him throwing from different arm slots and being disgusting. So it's not just really good stuff you have to worry about. It's what arm angle is it going to come out of? And also, oh, you're trying to time me up with your stride. Guess what? I'm going to do some stuff that's going to throw you off a little bit. He's a glitch.
He is a glitch. Like it just jumped out at me. Like that was one of those names that middle of the night, I was like, he needs a nickname because I've never seen anybody throw that way. And it is like a glitch. So I was like, yeah, I mean, we'll call him that. And then all of a sudden everybody's like, hey, that's a great nickname. I don't know. Like the Airbender was a similar thing where everybody was like, it's a screwball. It's a changeup. I'm like, we're not going to call it either. We'll make up a new pitch because this thing is just unique. And that took off too. Like those are fun too. When I say something and like, cause these are things, again, it takes, maybe 3 a.m. and then I hear a sports broadcaster say the same thing. And like Pitching Ninja came up with this. And I'm like, that is so freaking cool.
That's great. And that was cool to hear because, everybody thinks of, when you think nastiest pitchers in the league, and rightfully so, your mind goes to the guys that, Jacob Degrom throws 102. It's nasty. And the other, there's plenty of other names with really nasty stuff. But, I ask you 5 guys and their nasty pitches, and you give 5 guys that don't jump out at you. And it's really cool to be able to do that because you're not in the business of highlighting the best pitchers in the game of baseball. You're in the business of highlighting the best pitches, and that can come from all over the map. And it's pretty cool to hear those names said.
Yeah. So the funny thing, like I don't have any team bias at all. I have the team bias of whoever the filthiest pitchers on a team are. So like, it's really easy for me. Like I will judge everything in a vacuum. And there are guys, I didn't start the season saying I'm going to be a big Scott Efros fan. It just wasn't in the card. Herget was the same way. Like I just watched him. I'm like, something about it speaks to me. It took me forever to figure out what I liked about Lance Lynn. And now he's like my favorite guy to watch pitch every time he, ends an inning with a strikeout.
Yeah.
It's just little things, right?
I was just watching that from his last start. You just put together a whole compilation of his last pitch of the inning strikeout. Let's call it a celebration. And it's just great. Hey, so something I want to do that I think can be fun is, and we'll do current and all time, but we're going to put together the ultimate pitching ninja pitch repertoire. So I'm going to give you a pitch, and you're going to take one pitcher and that pitch of his, and we're going to put together just the ultimate perfect repertoire that a pitcher could ever have, okay?
Got it.
We'll do current pitchers. So let's just start with a fastball, 4-seam fastball.
So it would have to be Justin Verlander, right?
You could say Justin for all of these, and we can put together a great repertoire.
I plan to. It doesn't matter what the pitch is. I don't care if he throws it or not. It's going to be him. Like I guess can I include Jacob Degrom since he's not currently pitching? But like I would say,
yeah.
Okay, because he would be my guy. Like when he's on, his fastball's unhittable. He spots it so well, glove side, that it's unhittable.
So, is it just that he throws 102 miles an hour, or is it also command? Like, what is it?
It's command. Oh yeah, it's a combination of command, arm angle, and hitting his spots. Like his command at that velocity is just insane.
Okay, let's go sinker.
So probably my favorite one to watch when he's fully healthy. I mean, Jordan Hicks is a cartoon on the bump. Like it is. You don't see balls move that way. It's crazy. So he would be number one when he is fully healthy. Seeing 103 mile an hour sinkers is nuts. I love Bruce Gratterall too, just because he looks like he's putting as much effort as I do when I'm throwing BP, except his pitches go 102 and mine go like 50.
Yeah. Tomato, close enough. All right, so we're looking at Jacob Degrom's 4-seam, Jordan Hicks sinker. Let's go slider. What pitcher are you taking their slide?
I can amend so currently I on the sinker thing, I have to put Clay Holmes on there too.
Okay.
Like Clay Holmes is insane. Like,
Well, okay.
I do not.
If we're putting together the ultimate repertoire, we need you to pick one. So we can do like a sick graphic when all is said and done here, and we'll put one pitch from everybody. So
okay, I'm going to, because it's based on current this year, I'm going Clay Holmes.
Fair.
And I'm going to also reiterate my nickname for him, which is Sherlock. Like Sherlock Holmes.
I get it.
Yeah. He's a sure lock when he pitches. Get it? It's double entendre.
I like that a lot.
I'm doing there?
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll go to
I came up with that too.
Clay Holmes. Credit Pitching Ninja with Sherlock. All right. Slider. Who are we going?
Oh, that's tough because there's so many good ones. I mean, historically, it's always been like a Max Scherzer thing. That is kind of the way I go. You're putting me on the spot here because there are just so many good sliders.
You can go Max Scherzer. You can't go wrong with that answer.
Yeah, I'll go Scherzer. Just historically, I'm going to go him.
Okay. All right. Let's go to changeup.
Changeup is Devin Williams. Like there's no better changeup in the history of baseball, and I know what I'm talking about when I say that I'm kind of over, I'm maybe not giving Pedro the credit he deserves, and he deserves a lot. And it was always my favorite changeup. Devin Williams throws a changeup more often than he throws a fastball, and he has a good fastball, and his changeup spins at a higher spin rate than anybody's ever. It's insane. It's a UFO. He deserves it.
It's a UFO. Okay. I feel like I might know where you're going to go here, but cutter.
This is a tough one because like if I'm going the prettiest pitch in baseball, and I think this is objectively the prettiest pitch in baseball, is Corbin Burns' backdoor cutter is the prettiest pitch in baseball. And I think that for a couple of reasons. One being, I think most fans don't understand it because they're like, well, I mean, it looks kind of straight. It looks like it's only moving this much.
Yeah,
but every hitter that ever hits it thinks it's going to go the other way, and it comes back and it catches the plate with it. And it just leaves hitters like dumbfounded that pitch beat them. But then I can't ignore what Emmanuel Clase does. Like you can't ignore the dude throwing 102-mile-an-hour cutters because that's just crazy.
Okay. So are we going Clase?
Do I have to choose between those two?
Yes, I think for the sake of this cool thing we're going to put together.
I'm going Corbin Burns. Like he won a Cy Young.
Okay.
Like I'm going Corbin Burns.
Okay. All right. This is looking good so far. Let's go one more. Let's go. What am I missing? Curveball. We'll go curveball.
That is a tough one because like historically, I mean, Clayton Kershaw's curveball is one of the prettiest things you'll ever see. I happen to like Max Fried's curveball a ton too. And Corbin Burns has a pretty darn good curveball, and people don't give him enough credit.
He doesn't throw it as much as he probably should. Well, he doesn't need to, but he has it.
And nobody hits it, right? It's crazy. I'm going with Kershaw. Like, let's go with the all-time, the Cooperstown curveball.
Yep. All right. I like that. Unfortunately, there's not a knuckleball currently in the game of baseball, so I can't ask you a current knuckleball. But I also want to, and hopefully you don't have to think it. That was cool. That was really cool. I like that. But I want to do this all time as well to finish up. I think the last thing we can do is go all time here. But do you like your current repertoire? Are we good with that?
Yeah, like I think I can name a ton of slider pitchers that I could chuck in there, but I will live with what I
slider you seem unsure on, but you can't.
I am unsure of it because I like Tanner Houck's slider and Alek Manoah's slider to me are. I mean, they were in my finalists last year of Slider of the Year, and it's kind of hard for me to leave them on this.
Who won your Slider of the Year last year?
I believe it was Tanner Houck. Like he had a couple of insane ones. A nutmeg one, I believe he had. So, yeah, like he's crazy. And if you throw in curveballs, like you could throw in the Charlie Morton knuckle curve, which is one of my curveball of the year every year that I've had that award, but it's not as pretty as Clayton Kershaw's curveball.
True.
You see how hard it is being me? Like choosing
I
between
set
these?
you up for this, so it is hard for you. It is hard to be you, I would imagine. You do a lot of work, and you have to pick a top of the year. But then you get put on the spot. Even though we're pretending this is the spot, but before we started this, I gave you a heads up this was coming. Just getting that
You
out
have 2 minutes.
there. All right, hope this one might be a little easier because it's just going to be when it comes to your head, the best of all time pitching repertoire. Let's start with fastball. Who has the best fastball of all time?
Like I'm going Nolan Ryan. Like
Yep.
just OG fastball, shoves it down people's throats. I'm going Nolan Ryan.
Okay. Best sinker of all time. Two-seam sinker.
Yeah, like Greg Maddux is my guy. Like he can make the ball move any which way, and he was one of the best two-seam artists of all time. I'm going Greg Maddux. And that front, he kind of almost invented the front door two-seamer. So I'm going that.
Okay. Slider. Best slider.
Yeah, that's a tough one because like I can go back to like Steve Carlton, who had a wicked slider. And he's kind of Bob Gibson had a ridiculous slider.
I use it in MLB The Show all the time. It's disgusting.
So let's go Bob Gibson. Why not?
Okay, good. Let's go cutter. Best cutter of all time.
Is that really even a question? So like if I had to pick the best pitch of all time, it would be the best cutter of all time, which is Mariano Rivera. Like so you can't just have
pitch of all time is Mariano Rivera's cutter.
Yeah, like if you're a unanimous Hall of Famer and everyone knows this pitch is coming and they still can't hit it and nobody can vote against you for the Hall of Fame, I can't vote against that pitch as the best pitch of all time. It just is. Right?
I absolutely agree. All right, so we need changeup and curveball. Let's go changeup first.
So like objectively, I really would say Devin Williams' changeup is the best changeup of all time. But if we're talking about historical pitchers, I cannot argue against Pedro Martinez. Like Pedro Martinez's changeup is the OG of what changeup should be. That big running, it's insane. He's great. One of my favorite pitchers. That's a final answer, Pedro.
Final answer. All right, curveball, best curveball of all time.
I'm going. Again, we'll go historical. I'm going Sandy Koufax because that is one of the prettiest pitches ever, and I can't go against it.
Beautiful. All right, I think we just put together two really incredible pitch repertoires. If we were, all time, I guess we could go knuckleball. Who would you take knuckleball?
I did a knuckleball compilation, and it was tough. Like, I think objectively, R.A. Dickey's knuckleball moved the most when I was putting it together. Like, I looked at that and I started laughing, like hitters had to actually face that. Tim Wakefield's also, and it may have been the camera angles or whatever, because obviously you have Phil Necro and you have, I went down way back on knuckleballs. And so this is really fresh in my mind. And I really would go R.A. Dickey.
Wow, I love that. So before we wrap up, and you're wearing his shirt, and I have to ask everybody about him, but Shohei Ohtani, and just speak a little bit, and just from the pitching side. We don't even need to get into what he's doing on the hitting and the pitching side. I talk about that enough for everybody, but just talk a little bit about him from what you see from your perspective on the pitching side and just how nasty he is.
So this is something that people don't fully understand about like my history of it is I've been following Shohei kind of ever since I've been on Twitter. It's not like ever since he's been in the majors. Mm-hmm. I was following him back in Japan because you can learn a lot from his mechanics and how he moved. Because at that point, he was the hardest throwing pitcher in Japan. So, and I picked up on the fact early on that he was just very expressive. So part of what I love about him is you don't have you just watch the dude. You can watch him think. You can watch him be funny. You can watch him. You can see into his mind just by reading his face. So I love watching him from that standpoint. And then stuff wise, it's insane. Like I truly, like if you had me, I would say he is a better pitcher than a hitter. Like I still would go with that because he throws, look what he does. His splitter is unhittable.
Yeah. He
throws over 100. His slider has one of the biggest horizontal breaks in the game. He can flip in a curveball. He can do virtually anything. And I think people get jaded by that. Like some people don't. I will never, and you will never. But some people think, he's all hype. He is not all hype. He's fantastic. Like I drop everything every time he's on the bump just to watch him.
Let me run this by you, because I had John Smoltz on very recently and we were talking about Shohei Ohtani, and he said if he just dedicated his time to pitching, he's Jacob Degrom. What do you feel when you hear that?
I think he could be. So I think he's different from Jacob Degrom. I think Degrom gets by on different things. Degrom simplifies everything. So to me, the beauty of Degrom is he does what he does really well and constantly gets better at it. I think Shohei's brilliance is in his creativeness. He has a lot of weapons. I think he would be extremely dominant. I think he's just a different pitcher than Degrom. So I would say he would be his own self. He would be Shohei, the legend on the bump, multi-Cy Young Award winner. Yeah, no doubt. I think he would win multi-Cy Young Awards if he concentrated just on.
I love that. And I know I love that because we follow each other on Twitter, and I know you know how much I talk about him. But I truly believe it is deserved, and people can't quite grasp what we are seeing and how impressive it is.
Dude, I feature him because of exactly that. Number one, and I think we both have this too, is the people in Japan are so proud of him. And if I can bring more people and you can bring more people into the sport and watching MLB from Japan and from other countries, I think that's fantastic. But it's also letting fans know here, like, this is a once in a lifetime thing.
Yep.
And he has got an arsenal that is the envy of almost every pitcher in the major leagues who throws like him.
Absolutely.
I mean, like it's, you have like the Corbin Burnses of the world who have a ton of weapons. Shane McClanahan has a ton of weapons. Cole, but he has so many weapons and they're off the charts. And then you've picked up on this too, right? Like when he has runners in scoring position and he bears down and he puts, like, you can see the change in his face where he takes it as a personal affront to let runners score. I love the competitiveness he brings too.
It's almost like Justin back when he was, at the beginning of his career, when runners would get on base, he'd go, okay, here's 94, here's 94. Oh, you're on second base now. Here's 103. And it's almost like the best of the best competitors, of which Shohei is one. It's not that he's not trying when runners aren't on base, but there's that extra gear that they know they don't need to go to until they need to go to it. And when runners get on base, you can literally see it. And this is back to your point of Shohei being so expressive. You can literally see him flip that switch and just go to a new level.
Absolutely. And I think that's a great example of Justin as well. I think a competitor does not want the opposing team to score. They take it as a personal thing. Like, this is my role. My role is to prevent people from scoring. The beauty about Shohei is he said he loves to hit. And this is why he views himself as a better pitcher, because he kind of doesn't want his teammates to have to pick him up. He wants to do it all. And he wants to help his team win on both sides, because personally, he feels like as a competitor, that's what he wants to do. And I love that. Like, how do you not love a guy who wants to, like, he's not doing it all because he's cocky. He's doing it all because he wants his team to win.
Yeah, that's really cool. Rob, thank you so much for joining me, man. This has been an absolute blast. And let's make a pact to each other. Let's just keep growing the game together, my friend.
Absolutely. I don't know anything different, and neither do you. Like, I love your energy, and it inspires me a lot of times just watching you and how positive you are, because it's tough. Like, it's, you get people out there and everybody wants to be negative, and I can't do it. And you can't either. So it's great.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for saying that. This has been a blast, man. Thanks so much for joining me. You'll have to come back again soon, and I really appreciate it.
Absolutely, dude. Thank you for having me.
Of course. See ya. Man, what a blast of a conversation. I hope you all enjoyed that. Just want to say thanks again to the ninja, Rob Friedman, for joining me. That was a lot of fun. Putting together the ultimate pitch repertoire, that was really cool to kind of get inside of his brain and just see where his mind goes. And apparently it is just into a million different directions. But I think we got some really fun stuff there. What a cool story and a cool journey to where he is now. And hearing some of the stories about how players go to him, Just really, really cool. I hope you all enjoyed this episode and that conversation. I know I certainly did. Make sure you all like, subscribe, download wherever you listen to your podcast at Flippin Bats Pod on all social medias as well. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. We're also on YouTube. You can watch every episode on YouTube as well. But thank you all for listening. This has been an absolute blast. I hope you all enjoyed it. And I will see you next time on Flippin Bats.